とはね、大概市販薬を使うような症状なり問題っていうのは使っても使わなくても治る時間ほとんど変わらないんで、ということはむしろ子どもさんがいるような家庭であれば間違って飲んじゃうことがあることを考えればね、そんなもんない方がいいっていうことにはなるんですね。僕らの考え方なんです。だから処方薬以外は別に家に置いとく必要はないだろうと。昔は何ですか、そのサイト薬、飲んでこうバーって吐かせる薬をこちらでは常備してたんです。子供が変なもん食べちゃったり飲んだりして、ただそれがかえってね、心臓に悪いとかそういうことになって、今はもうやらなくなっちゃったから。だから昔は日本でも赤チンとかもあったけど、せいぜい消毒の類ね、まあ消毒だってあれも水道水でこうやって流すでこうやって洗えばいいわけで、あんまりそれもどれだけ効果があるかよくわからないので、これはあんまり考えなくていいだろうと僕は思っています。
Stop the cat because they'll worry about aspiration. Is that why you stopped?
And then the credit.
Yeah, right.
I can answer. 子どもの薬に関してはまずほとんど別に日本だろうがカナダだろうがあんまり関係ないんでね、容量をちゃんと決められた通りに飲ませてくださればいいと思います。同じ日本人の子どもでも遺伝子によってその薬に対する反応が違う人が、まあ、片っぽの極端がここでっていうこともあるんだけども、カナダの子どもたちっていうかヨーロッパから先祖がヨーロッパから来てる人たちはやっぱり極端な人はこの辺で、こっちの極端はこの辺でってこう重なってるんでね、日本人の中でのバリエーションの方が大きかったりすることもあるんで、日本の子供だからカナダの薬は飲むときは3分の2にするとかそんなことはしない方がいいから、言われる通りにきちんと飲んでください。何の問題もないと思います。Maybe you can.
Yes, there's differences. So obviously some drugs, their effect is based on weight and size and metabolism. Some drugs are not. Some drugs, the doses are the same, but for sure, from the vast majority of medications, you can't just assume that children's dosages are the same as adults. So in general, if there's any question, family doctor should be able to answer those questions. A lot of drugs, especially over-the-counter drugs, it's written on the package based on age or weight, how the dosage should be adjusted, but in general, dosages are different.
処方薬だったらこんなことを気にする必要ないですね。処方されたの飲めばいいだけだから。だから市販薬で大人用の市販薬を子供に使いたいってもし、まあ、僕はあんまりそれは勧めないけども、まあ、大まかな目安としては小学生の子供であれば小学校1年生だったら大人の半分目安、それより小さい子供には風邪薬をあげない、かえっていろんなことが起こるんでね、それだけ覚えておいてください。Generic versus brand.
Okay, so when a drug company brings out its drug,
ジェネリックって後発医薬品ということですから、先発に出てきた新しい薬のブランドと後から作られた同じ成分なんだけども違う薬っていう後発医薬品と言います。それがジェネリック。
So when a drug company brings out a drug, they have a patent on it for a certain number of years, and then after that time, other companies are allowed to make that drug. And the reason for that is because the drug company that comes up with the drug is allowed to make money from all the research and development it took to make the drug. When another company makes a copy of that drug, in order for it to be able to be sold in Canada or in Ontario, it's got to have a certain percentage of the activity of the original drug. And it's not 100%. I believe it's something like 80%. For the vast majority of drugs, it really doesn't make a difference between the generic and the trade name. For a very small percentage, there seems to be a difference. And that your family doctor should know the difference. Very few drugs you would say to the pharmacist, please don't give the patient the generic, please give the patient original. The reason why it's important is because certain drug plans, depending on if you have a private drug plan or if you're covered by the Ontario drug plan, because it's cheaper, they will prefer to give the generic version. And most of the time it's fine. Sometimes we would say, don't give the generic, give the trade name, and you may have to pay a little bit extra to give the original brand name drug.
もし何か新しいというか病気が見つかって、ここで何か処方薬をもらわないといけないって言ったときに、もしジェネリックの薬でスタートするんだったら、全然もう問題ないと、同じ成分ですからね、問題ない。ただ、今までずっとなんか慢性の病気でね、薬 A を使ってて、ここでカナダに来た途端に薬 B にジェネリックで変わったっていうようなことになると、コントロールの具合が少し変わったりすることがあるんで、特に慢性の疾患の場合ね、注意すると。ただ、抗生剤だとか、なんかそういう急性に使うものだったら、もうほとんど何の問題もないと思うんで、どっち使っても全然問題ないと思います。だからそれはやっぱり処方する側の家庭医の先生が分かってると、専門医なり家庭医の先生が分かってると思うんで、それはその都度注意してくれると思います。ね、何か薬のことで質問はありますか？最後は、いや。
How do you respond to when the pharmacist sometimes wants to change it from to the generic?
So I discuss it with the patient. Frequently the patient will call me and they'll say, hey, my pharmacist wants to give me the generic form of the drug, what do you think? And most of the time, I would say, I haven't seen any difference. I get a lot of patients who say, I want the brand name of the drug no matter what. For whatever reason, they think it's better, for whatever reason. And that's fine. All I need to do on the prescription is write no substitution, and they give the brand name of the drug. Sometimes it's a little bit more expensive, and if the patient wants to pay for that privilege, that's fine. There are certain times where I have to tell the pharmacist, no, because of some differences, please give the brand name all the time. But a lot of times it's up to the patient. A lot of times, I don't think there's any basis to it, but patients are happier sometimes with the brand name.
他にありませんか
？Okay. Right. So routine immunizations are paid for. Most routine immunizations are paid for by the government. Both the cost of the actual vaccine and the appointment for giving the vaccine. This is on the flu shot that you've got here.
So the first one is regular vaccination only be given at the family doctor's offices.
Well, yes and no. Something has changed.
Oh, something changed?
Yes. So most routine immunizations should be had at a family doctor's office, not usually at a walk-in clinics, not usually anywhere else. Flu shots can be given either at a family doctor's office or walk-in clinics.
The middle is the flu shot.
Right. Or pharmacies. Pharmacies can give flu shots. The thing that's changed as of this year is the pharmacist can now give, I think it's 13 different vaccines on their own without the family doctor at the pharmacy. This only applies to patients over the age of 5 years old. It involves a lot of travel vaccines and some routine vaccines. However, for most of the vaccines, you will still need a prescription from the doctor. And the other thing is that for the vaccines that are covered by the government, you will have to pay at the pharmacy and you won't have to pay at the family doctor's office. But for travel vaccines, for example, which aren't covered by OHIP and you have to pay anyways, you can, if you want, get them at a pharmacist. Sometimes you'll need a prescription from the doctor, sometimes you won't.
まあだから旅行で必要な予防接種なんかはものによってはファーマシーで受けることもできる。ただまあこれはファミリードクターでやろうがファーマシーでやろうがお金払うこともカバーしませんから同じだけども、このOHIPがカバーするものの中でファーマシストでやろうとしたときに、So the OHIP covered some of the vaccinations. If done at pharmacy, You may have to
You may have to pay. Yes. So, for example, on the list of the vaccines available at the pharmacy, there's two of them: the pneumonia shot and H influenza. For example, are two shots that are given at the family doctor's office for free because the government provides them. But if you get it at the pharmacy, you'll have to pay for them. Most of the other vaccines, so out of those 13, I think 10 of them are travel vaccines. And those you would have to pay for anyways.
So, under what circumstances they want to get the shot done first?
Let's say the family doctor's office is too far away. Let's say they can't get time off work. Let's say there's a pharmacy around the corner and they're going on holiday next week. A lot easier just to walk into the pharmacy. Now sometimes they'll call my office and say, tell me which vaccines I should get for this trip. And then they can go to the pharmacy and ask for it.
まあだからトラベル、旅行に関するような、予防接種であれば、まあ、ドクターのオフィスが働いてるとこから遠くに行けないような時に電話して、どれが薬局で受けられるか聞いて、これが必要だで薬局で受けられるとなったら、まあ、お金払うけど、まあ、どっちだって払うんですけど、その薬局で受けられる。そういうことですね。
I think they're also doing a shingles.
Yeah, that's one of them. So the shingles vaccine, just to talk about the shingles vaccine, everybody has to pay for that except if you're between the age of 65 and 70. So that's an expensive vaccine. It's over $200. So first of all, although it's licensed from the age of 50 on up, so if you're under 50, you shouldn't be getting it. The recommendations are that it's best to get it at age 60, and you have to pay for it. You can get it either at the family doctor's office or the pharmacy any time after the age of 50. We recommend starting at age 60. If you're between the age of 65 and 70, you can get it at the pharmacy, but you'll have to pay for it. If you get it at the family doctor's office, you don't, between that age, those two ages.
So that's an overview of the vaccination entirely.
Okay, so there are a lot of, the vaccine schedule now has gotten quite complicated. There are lots of vaccines that the government recommends, and some of them are required for children before they enter day school or school. There's not a lot of difference between the vaccination schedule and the Japanese vaccination schedule. Some are it's the same vaccine, some are given at different times. But usually before a child is entered into daycare or school, you have to fill out a form saying what vaccines they've had. Sometimes it would make sense to see the family doctor to go over the vaccines, to see where the differences are in the two vaccination schedules, and to either make up the differences or to help you fill out the forms for daycare.
これは僕知らなかったけども、なんかその予防接種記録の無料翻訳のサービスがこの年にあるそうですから、それがないと子供の学校行く手続きなんて必要になる。これはいいかもしれない。まあ大概の人は日本から持ってくる、英訳したものを持ってきてると思うんですけど、ということでした。
I should mention there are now a few vaccines that are recommended by everybody, but not paid for yet by the government. So, for example, the shingles vaccine that we just mentioned is probably a good idea starting at age 60, not paid for unless you're between the ages of 65 and 70. There's a vaccine against pneumonia called Prevnar 13 that's now recommended for anybody over 65 that the government doesn't pay for at all. And for adolescents going away and living in residence at university, they should probably have a booster of their meningitis vaccine, which the government doesn't pay for. But there are also, I should mention, vaccines the government does pay for students in grade 7. There's 3 different shots now that are being given to grade 7 students. Human papillomavirus, hepatitis B, and meningitis. And those are offered for free in school in grade 7. If the student misses those shots, they can get catch-up at Toronto Public Health or the Public Health Department in Ontario. But those are new vaccines.
For free.
For free.
まあ日本ではいろいろ問題になってるけども、パピローマバイラスの子宮頸がんの予防のためにね、髄膜炎と、 meningitis, papilloma,
Human papillomavirus, meningitis, and hepatitis B.
B 型肝炎。だからそれがグレード
Grade 7.
グレード7で受けられる。それミスしたら、
So 12 years old, 12, 13 years old.
12、13歳ぐらい、中学生ぐらいですね。で、それミスしたらパブリックヘルスの部門でタダで受けられる。まあ、スケジュール書いてありますけど、まあ、ファミリードクターのところ行けば詳しく説明してくれると思いますけど、まあ、日本と変わらないし、日本よりはカバーが後半かなと思いますけどね。何かワクチンのことで。
Okay, so a vaccination schedule is the product of medical advisors and government. So it's not purely what's recommended for health. It has to do with healthcare costs. It has to do with immunization programs. And there are differences even within the different provinces. For example, British Columbia and Quebec have slightly different immunization programs than Ontario. And certainly there's a lot of differences between countries. It also has to do with the prevalence of different diseases in certain countries. So for example, in a lot of countries, tuberculosis is more common. And so BCG vaccine is given to young people, sometimes to infants, to help prevent tuberculosis. In Canada, because tuberculosis is not as common, the focus is not on preventing tuberculosis, but detecting tuberculosis. So in Canada, we generally don't give the BCG vaccine, but if somebody's exposed to tuberculosis, or they're in a high-risk field, or they're going to be in contact with youngsters in schools, we give a TB test to detect if there's ever been any exposure to tuberculosis.
まあ、日本とカナダはだいぶ日本に今 BCG ってやってるんですか？やってます？カナダはやっぱりその発症率が少ないのでやらないと。ただ検出早期発見は力入れてるんで、そのツベルクリンは普通にしますけど、結核の発症が少ないんで BCG はやらないと。あとはまあ個々のあれでだいぶ様子が違うかなと思うんですけども、その主にはその病気の発症率の違いによるんだろうと思ってます。
Right. So one of the things the family doctor needs to do if your child was vaccinated in Japan is to bring in that list of vaccinations that they had, and together you can see which vaccines are unnecessary or are necessary. 100% right, you shouldn't be over-immunized. So if you're already had, for example, hepatitis B vaccine, which in some places are given as infants or as children, then there's no reason to get that vaccine in grade 7. And that applies to a lot of different vaccines. So yes, sometimes it involves looking very carefully at what's been had and figuring out what's necessary and what isn't.
まあ実際に予防接種の記録があればね、家庭医の先生と相談の上でいろいろプラン立てることができると思うんですけど、まあ、規定回数以上に受けて問題があるっていう例はないので、それはあんまり気にしなくていいかなと思うんですけど、もちろん必要ないものは受ける必要ないんでね、それは相談されたらいいと思います。これは話が何回も出てますけども、任意の予防接種で受けた方がいいものっていうのはここに書いてある通りで、まあ、これが今現在のカナダでの考え方ということですね。
So this refers to the vaccines that aren't covered. The middle one, the human papillomavirus, like I said, as of this past year, it used to be that we just gave it to girls in grade 7. As of this past year, we're giving it to boys as well in grade 7. The issue is, what about all the boys who are in grade 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or young adults? And that's who we recommend this vaccine for, and they have to pay for it. So anybody who is past grade 7 this year will not have had this vaccine for free, but probably should get it because human papillomavirus is a sexually transmitted disease, relatively common, major cause of cervical cancer, penile cancer, throat cancers, and anybody who is sexually active and not with a regular sexual partner probably should have this vaccine no matter what their age is.
まあ法律の改正でね、男の子でグレード7を超えてしまった方たちは自分で払わないと受けられないけども、まあ小さい子たちは今男の子も女の子もこれはこっちで無料で食えるようになって、It's for free.
No,
Oh,
it's only free if you're in grade 7.
No, if you're grade 7.
Grade 7 it's free. Everybody else it's $150 per shot and it's 3 shots.
Right. だから今法律が変わらない限りグレード7より若い男の子も女の子ももうフリーで受けられるんだけど、それ以外大きな子たちは自分のお金払わないと受けられない。でも一応推奨はされている。これはもう話しましたね。これも話しましたね。
すみません、その子宮頸がんのこちらでは一切その副作用っていうのは言われてないんでしょうか、日本のように。
ないです。
なぜ日本だけなんですか。なぜ日本だけなんですかね。
わからない。まあ、so you know there are cases of some neurological complaints or unspecified symptoms after adult vaccination, and it became a kind of a social problem. で、
So
今
you're
日本でやっ
talking
てないんです
about Guillain-Barré is what we're
よ。
talking about mostly.
だからnot like an undiagnosed condition, almost.
Okay.
So, in Japan,
With associated with human papillomavirus vaccine?
that's not even clear.
Okay.
Time sequences may fit, that's all.
So all I can say is, in general, because there's a mass immunization program, it's been going on for the girls in grade 7 for now for, I think, 4 or 5 years maybe. We have lots and lots of evidence that it tends to be very safe. And the other thing that we've also seen is already a large drop in the rates of cervical cancer in young women because of this vaccine. I can't speak to what's going on there, but here at least it seems to be very, very safe. Good luck.
なんて言っていいんですかね、医学的には僕は問題ないと思ってるんですけど、だから社会的なその捉え方が違うのかなと。で、まあだからもう非常に多くの方たちに打つんでね、実際に打たなかった人と2つに分けて打つ人と打たない人と調べればいいんだけども、そんなことできないので、結論はおそらく永遠に出ないから。まあ、なんとか他に子宮頸がんを予防できる措置が日本で出てくればいいなと思ってますけども、ただ事実としてあるのはこっちでは特に北アメリカでもアメリカでもカナダでも多分ヨーロッパでも問題にはなっていないので、それしかちょっと僕はコメントできないです。
From my point of view, I think it's safe. I made sure my 3 daughters were immunized. And again, so far, we haven't seen the same problem, I don't think, here at all.
これが最後のスライドになると思うんですけども、もうすべて今までのこと何でもいいですから質問があれば。はい、どうぞ。
予防接種についてなんですけれども、日本で子どもの予防接種を受けたときに施設長にロット番号を記載してもらえるんですけれども、カナダでも聞けば番号は教えてもらえますか？
教えてもらえると思いますよ。So they can ask a lot number of the vaccination.
Oh, so when we give a vaccination in the office, we are supposed to record the lot number and the expiry date. And the reason for that is primarily if down the road, if later on they find out there is a problem with a particular lot number, we can trace it back. So we have to keep track of that. And sometimes there's some medications, some vaccines where the manufacturer will send us a notification saying there's some evidence that either this particular lot is not effective or there's been some problem with it. Very, very rarely, but we keep track of that.
聞けば教えてくれると思います。
受けた時期とかは自分で記録しておくしかないんでしょうか。
受けた時期。
はい、特に何かに書いてもらえるとかは自分で管理するしかない。
自分で管理するしかない。Do you give some kind of record?
So there used to be a yellow card that everybody filled in, or we filled it in every time we gave a shot. The problem was people would lose it, and so one card would have some immunizations, some card would have others. So right now, I think the vast majority of family doctors are on an electronic medical record. So when I see my patients and they have a child that's about to enter daycare or school, I just press one button. It gives a printout of all their vaccines, and they can keep a record of it. And they can hand that in to the school to show that they've had all their shots. So it's up to the family doctor to keep a record of all those vaccines. And I should mention also that the pharmacies, if they're going to be giving the shots, part of their obligation is to inform the family doctor which shots we're giving.
だからファミリードクターのオフィスの、電子カルテかハードコピーのカルテかには書いてあるから必要であれば言えばもらえる。With the fee?
No, there's no fee. The only fee that's charged from us. I press one button. I don't charge anything for that. I guess, just like with doctor's notes, a family doctor is free to charge something for that. But
一応多分無料だと思いますけど、中にはお金取る人いないとは思うけどね。他にいかがでしょうか。はい。
娘が学校の方でよく予防接種を受けていて、こういう紙を回ってくるんですが、
学校でね、はいはい。
何を受けたか。これはやはりファミリードクターの方にお知らせした方がよろしいですか。
それは例えば今話した
子宮頸がん今グレード8なんですけれども、今年になって2回受けてきました。
それはもう決められたものなんで、もう当然受けているものとファミリードクターの方は思ってると思うんです。だからそれは何も言う必要ないけども、もしミスしたら入れた方がいい。むしろ。
はい、ちょっとすみません、このセミナーにふさわしいかどうかわからないんですけど、予防接種を持ってない子どもが予防接種を受けて、とりあえず任意でお金を払って予防接種を受けましたって後に、OHIP取得したら、そのお金ってチャージできるんですか？
So if kids got vaccinated before OHIP is approved, OHIP E14, can they reimburse?
I think you'd have a hard time collecting. I mean, so every week the government sends me a bunch of vaccines. I keep them in the fridge in my office. If somebody came to me with a child that wasn't yet covered by OHIP, I mean, I don't think I would charge them for the vaccine because I didn't pay for the vaccine myself. Theoretically, yes, you could say, you know what, not covered yet, here's a prescription for the vaccine, get it from a pharmacy, bring it to me and I'll give you the shot. I think you would have a hard time collecting back from OHIP for those vaccines. A lot of the times, if that's the issue, I would say, okay, wait 2 or 3 months until you have your coverage. But I would just give the vaccine and say.
だけども、多分何も言わずに打ってチャージしないでバイバイってことになるのかなと思うんだけども。
ファミリードクターと相談みたいになるんですかね。
彼の場合はそんなあんまり関係ないから打ってバイバイ。
I mean, except for infants, except for babies in the first 6 months of life, the timing is not crucial, and being off by 2 or 3 months isn't going to make a difference anyways. But having said that, if somebody was in my office, I would just get the vaccine from the fridge and give it.
赤ちゃんはお母さんの抗体もらってるからね。だから最初のうちはもうあんまりいつやるかも関係ないんだよね。あとはでもあんまりちっちゃい子はそんなちっちゃい段階で連れては来ないだろうから、それだったらこっちできっと生まれてるだろうから、それは問題ない。 し、まあだからあんまりどうですかね、やっぱりファミリードクターによるのかもしれないですね。
はい、終わりました。ありがとうございます。
他にありませんか。じゃあ、
はい、
よろしいですか。
よろしいですか。せっかくの貴重な機会で、ご質問できる機会だと思います。よろしいでしょうかね。はい。それではですね、本日どうもありがとうございました。本も2時間以上、2時間半になりますが、日本語での医療説明会、医療専門セミナーということで、今回も伊藤先生、川瀬先生に長時間ご説明いただきました。本当にありがとうございます。冒頭にもですね、先生もおっしゃったように、ちょっとプライベートなことでご相談したいということがあれば、まず先生方、もう10分、20分いらっしゃってくださると思いますので、ぜひこの後もですね、ご質問されたらよろしいかと思います。それではですね、本日どうもありがとうございました。